Hello again. So by now you're probably used to my little weekly short thought, and I've been using the word but, B-U-T. Today's going to be slightly different. Historically, fairly frequently when I've been preaching, I've used a saying that includes that word but, and it's this, that whatever it is I'm talking about is simple but not easy. So simple but not easy. You know, the gospel message is simple, but it's not always easy for people to respond to. Trusting God is simple, but often we find it really hard to do. And my thoughts over the last week or so have been really preoccupied with the murder of George Floyd and the response here and across the world to those events. Now I know, and I'm really aware, that I can only speak from my own perspective, that of a female, white, British person. And I don't want to presume to begin to understand the nature, the level, the horror, the pernicious nature of racism that's levelled at people both here in the UK and in other places. But I can speak the words of Jesus Christ, but I can share some words from the Bible. You see, Jesus taught us two really simple sayings, two commandments, two acts of obedience. And he said this: love God and love your neighbour as yourself. Really simple commands. No ambiguity, no doubt, no uncertainty as to what Jesus is saying. Two simple sayings. Simple, but why don't we find it easy? I'm sure there are numerous answers, but just a few simple thoughts from me. Firstly, do you, does society have a godly view of love? Or have we made love something else, temporary, transient, self-centred? You know, the love of God, that sacrificial, giving your life for another love. Do we have the right view of love? Secondly, even as Christians, maybe we can readily accept God's sacrificial love, but we're not quite so ready in return to love him in the same way. Are we, as Christians, aware of the need to sacrificially love God with all our heart, all our soul, and all our mind? And thirdly, even 2,000 years after Jesus answered the question, do we sadly sometimes need to ask and hear a response to the question, who is my neighbour? Jesus' commands are simple, but it's our failure to understand love. Jesus' command, his ask of obedience is simple, but it's our failure to love him. Our failure to know who our neighbours are might mean that something that should be simple is not being reflected in day-to-day life. It's not enough to accept that Jesus calls us to change, to sanctification, to being more like him. We need to actually live it. We need to be it. We need to do it. And I just thought, let's keep these three things really simple. Firstly, how do I know God more? How do I get to know him more and understand what love is? God is love. How do I spend more time with him, learn from him, understand love? Secondly, as I do that, how do I as an individual respond to Christ's love for me? Am I willing to give my all? Am I willing to sacrifice to love him in return? And thirdly, out of knowing his love and loving him, how can I love others? How can I show to the world that I love others? You know, we're all children of God. Church, I think it's really simple. We need to love God and love our neighbours as ourselves. I posted something on Facebook last week, and one of my relatives responded with this: Katie, keep on judging yourself, examine yourself, repent when you need to, and move on. Test yourself until you find no guile. Church, Let's repent and then move on. Keep on keeping on loving. Speak and act in complete, unqualified love. Let each of us be the difference, and let's celebrate anyone who is trying to do the same. God bless.